Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time stopping by, thank you so much for tuning in. So today I'm going to be talking about a topic that has been in my heart to make a video for. And I know I've been gone from YouTube for a long time, but I say this all the time, but I'm back. So today I want to make a video about how I personally learned how to code. Currently I'm in software development, and I graduated from school with a bachelor's in information science and data science. So I do have a good amount of programming background. My first language was C++. I learned it. It was my, literally when I got into C++, it was my, I had no clue what programming was. I had no, I don't even know how I ended up in computer science. But actually, I decided to go into computer science because I saw the movie, the Social Network movie. I believe that's what it was called, about Facebook. And I thought that, you know, the movie, they mentioned coding, and I thought that was super cool. And so I decided to get into computer science. But really, because of that movie, that was like the movie was the first thing that I first heard what coding was, and through that movie I got into being computer science. I did not know anything about how much money tech made. I didn't even care. It was just, I don't know, I thought it was really cool, so I decided to get into this field, and I do not regret it. So when I got into class, C++ was my first exposure to coding, and it seemed like most of my classmates came in with a programming background, maybe from their high school, and my high school did not teach coding. They didn't even really tell anybody what coding was. And so I really felt kind of, what's that word? I felt I don't know what that word is. I felt I don't know what the word is, but I felt like I was behind, and I felt like, you know, everybody knew what they were talking about, and I didn't know what was going on in class. And if you've ever been a computer science major, depending on the school you go to, it's not every school does this, but when I was in computer science, my first professor, and actually all my computer science professors, did not know how to talk to undergraduate students. They would teach us like they were teaching graduate students. And it was just really annoying, because when I'd go and ask them for help, they weren't, you know, speaking my language, so they couldn't help me. And when you're learning programming, it's like you're learning a whole new language. Like literally, you're learning how to speak French, and you've never had any exposure to French. It's like you went to France, or like a country that the main language is a language that you've never heard of. So that's what programming was to me, and that's what it's like to a lot of people. So I really struggled my first programming semester. Bruh, that was a lot of work. It was it was a lot of work, but I knew I had to pass the class, and I give glory to God, I've never failed a programming class. So I knew I had to pass this class. So what I did, since I felt like I had no help from my professor, you know, not really a lot of people to help me, one thing that I did was I went to codeacademy.com, and that was really a good site that really taught me C++, and it's really helped me in like Python and other languages. And that site was a really good resource for me, and to learn how to code. I also used, fortunately it wasn't just me that was struggling that had the same experience. My other classmates were also struggling too, and you know, we put all our struggling together, and you know, we were able to help each other out. And also one trick that I did, you know, not just working with people who are struggling, one thing that I do in when I go to classes, I find the smartest person and be friends with them, because they will tend to help you. I find the smartest, the second smartest, whoever I see that's the smartest, that knows what they're talking about, and I'm not afraid to ask for help. So I'll go ask, oh, how'd you do this? Can you help me? And you know, there's always one person who's passionate about what they do, that they don't mind being able, helping you for free, especially if you can relate with them in a certain level. So I was able to find classmates that, you know, were willing to help me out, on top of using Code Academy. So Next, the next resource that I also used was Coursera. I wanted to build an app, so I wanted to learn C#, because I thought that would help me with the app. So this was back then when Coursera used to be free. You could just audit a class. If you chose not to get the certificate and you audit the class, it was free. Now Coursera, you have to pay for it. But basically, Coursera is a site. It has actual courses. You can chat and interact with professors. The class starts at a certain time and it ends at a certain time. And so the class that I took for C# was actually a class that was in my school, like my college. This was during the summertime, well, one of our breaks. And so it was taught by an actual like computer science professor that actually goes to my school. And you had access to the professor if you chose to pay for it and all of that. And it was a great resource for me trying to learn C#. Although one thing about Coursera and these other sites is you may not always finish the course, but especially if you don't pay for it. But it was a really good resources for really giving me an exposure to C#. And the class, at the end of the class, like the final project was like to build the app, So Coursera was a really good tool. So now that Coursera is not free, and I tried, like, a lot of resources that I'm going to try to give you are free. Because I was a college student when I was learning a lot of these things. Even still, I'm still using some of these resources because I'm learning, on the job. Especially if you, like, for my type of work, sometimes I'll have to learn a certain language to be able to use a certain system. If I have a certain project for something, all these somethings. If I have a certain project coming up, I'd have to learn a certain like language sometimes, 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 different languages in order to be able to, learn the system and to be able to create whatever I need to create. On top of that, I have to do it in a really like quick amount of time. It's not like I have a year or a whole semester to learn. I have a few weeks. Like, here at Temi, they'll be like, this is the project, this is the overview of the project, you have to learn this, you have to learn this. And you don't have that much time to learn, whatever you need to learn. But if you know the basics, and that's what I'm here to show you guys, some of the basic languages that you can learn as well in order to be able to pick up on other languages quickly. So, since now that Coursera is no longer free, because I believe that you can't audit classes anymore, if you have to pay per class. One thing that I just discovered was edX. I believe it's edX.org. I'm going to leave all the links in the description. So edX is a site that I still use today. I'm currently learning two programming languages, and I use edX as a tool in order for me to learn it. So edX is like Coursera before. You could go to a class if you wanted to get the certificate like of completion that you took the class. You can choose to pay for it, or you can audit the class, which is what I did because I ain't paying. It's like I don't feel the need to pay for stuff that are online for free. That's just me. So I audited the class. I'm currently learning 2 different things on edX, and it's been a really good resource. They have like videos. They have quizzes there. Like, it's like you start at a certain time and you also end at a certain time as well. You can have access to the class. As the course is still going on, you have access to the professor. You have access to other classmates who are taking the class with you as well. So they have discussions. It's just like you're in a college class, but it's free. So edX actually a really great tool. I used when I was learning Java, and let me tell you, Java in itself is a whole nother field. It's a whole nother level of stress. Java in itself is a whole nother oh God, Java, especially from a Python fanatic like me, going to Java. Okay, anyways, so when I was learning Java was really complicated. Java was really complicated, and I felt like it was just overstressed for no reason. So my main languages are Python and SQL, and because, you know, I work with a lot of data. I enjoy data. Okay, I love working with data, and, you know, yeah, I actually really like data. So that was what I focused on in school, because I did a lot of, like I said, I focused on data science. So I did a lot of machine learning and data analytics, and so my main languages were Python and SQL. But when I was learning Java, I found it really hard, because I felt like a lot of the things that you could learn with that you could do with Java, you're writing 4 lines of code when you could write 1 line in Python. But knowing Java is super useful, and I feel like it gives you an edge when you're looking for a job in the job market, because like a lot of companies use Java. Like, Java is one of the most useful languages that you can ever know, because I feel like that's going to give you an edge, you know, when you decide when you're in the job market. So I used sololearn.com and also Code Academy to learn Java, to become a better Java developer. I took a Java class. I didn't understand some concepts in Java, especially when we got to the object-oriented part, and, you know, I was learning how, like, I was in the Spring Boot section, and, you know, I just didn't understand some, like, object-oriented parts of Java. So when I went to Solo Learn, it really kind of helped me, you know, really connect and what I was learning in class to what I should be doing. You know, currently I am teaching myself Angular and AWS. So one of the resources that has helped me, because I've ran into a lot of software issues when it comes to Angular, and I've ran into a lot of things when it came to Angular. Like, it took me forever to even get the system working on my computer. And one of the resources that I've used in order to properly learn Angular and to get help was YouTube. YouTube is such a great resource. I used YouTube for practically every single coding language that I have learned. It's just that there's some things that you can't learn on YouTube. I don't know how to say that, but like, there are, first of all, not all YouTube videos, not all programming languages have quality YouTube videos for them. They don't all have YouTube videos that you can understand, but there's a lot, like, for the core languages, for like C++, SQL, Python, there are great YouTube videos out there. There's this guy, he makes great YouTube videos for Python, and another one has like a whole SQL series. And like, YouTube has been such a great source for me to learn how to code, but sometimes when I was learning Java, YouTube was not a good source for me, in my opinion, because I couldn't find a good video that made sense. I mean, I found one guy, he did do a good job in introducing me to Java, but to keeping me in Java, like, his stuff was really basic. When I got to the advanced portion of Java, it was really hard for me to find a good YouTube video. But overall, YouTube videos have been really helpful. Currently, I'm learning Angular, and I ran into a lot of software issues with Angular, and even trying to get it up and running took me a lot of work, and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't have anybody to ask for help. So one of the sources that I used in order to learn, in order to help me troubleshoot, you know, the issues that I was having, and in order to help me kind of bridge the gap, was Facebook groups. I joined several Facebook groups. I joined Facebook groups about programming, Facebook groups about Angular, and whenever I run into an issue or I didn't know what to do, I'll ask questions on the Facebook group. I joined one about self-taught programmers, and they really helped me troubleshoot my Angular issues. And sometimes I'd actually post, because I have a lot of friends who are in IT. So I'd post, if I have questions, I'd post it on my personal status, and they'd help me and they'd answer my questions for me. So thank you guys. And also Reddit and Stack Overflow has been really helpful. Like, if you run into issues, feel free to post, ask questions, and most likely other people have run into the same issues as you. So most likely your question is already on Stack Overflow. Most likely there's already an answer. And just googling a question, there's also a place for you to learn. And lastly, the last resource, and this resource is not for free, but I have a coworker who uses it, and to learn, you know, languages, to learn programming languages, and it's really relatively inexpensive, is Udemy. Udemy is a source. Udemy is the source. It's like Coursera and all these other courses out there like edX, but you have to pay for it. But it's people who, they have Udemy courses, and you could take classes on Udemy for a cheaper price than going to school to take the class. I personally have not used Udemy, so I can't vouch for it, but I've heard it's a good resource. And lastly, the most important way, the best way to learn programming is through practice. Practice. You cannot get good at programming if you don't practice. You have to, like, even if you don't understand, keep going. Because I know that for me, when I've been in classes that I had no idea what was going on, I just kept going. I kept using Solo Learn. I'd use Code Academy, go home, try to learn whatever it is that I needed to learn. Then come back the next day, keep going. And then as the more I built the program, the more things started coming together. Like when I was learning Java, I didn't really understand the concept of a controller. I would just do the examples, you know, see whatever. But as I was building up my own website, as I was building the program, I was like, oh, so this is what a controller does. A controller controls. Like, I didn't understand what a repository does, but as I, you know, the more that I, you know, that I practice, the more that I code, the better it is. The better it was that I got. And yeah, coding is fun. Coding is, you know, it can be frustrating, it can be stressful, but it's also great to always have somebody looking over you. So if you have a friend who's a programmer, feel free to ask them for help. Or if you don't have somebody, use those Facebook groups, because you may just have a syntax error, you know, and you don't know what the problem is. You've spent days trying to figure out the problem, but you don't know what it is. Depending on your IDE, it may not tell you exactly, or it may look right, but you're wrong. You know, just feel like sometimes, I know that sometimes for me, like I would be coding and I'd have an error and I don't know what the error is, and I would just call somebody, you know, maybe a coworker, can you come look at this? And they, like, all I need is them standing there. They may not even see the problem themselves, and them just standing there, I'll be like, oh, that's the problem. Like, I just needed them in my vicinity, you know. I don't know, our energy is connected, something like that. But it's very important. It's so much easier when you have somebody there, you know, with you that kind of knows how to code. Or if you don't have somebody, use Facebook groups. And yeah, so lastly, what language should you learn first? If you don't know anything about programming, I personally would recommend start with a language in C, like, because C++ was my first language. I'm kind of biased, so I would definitely recommend like something like C++ as your first language, because learning C++, like, I feel like is such a great basis, because you could go learn other languages on top of that, and it's easier and it makes sense. So after C++, I went on to Python, and I was like, oh, Python is actually it's easier than C++. It's easy, and like the things that I learned in C++ made it easier for me to know Python. I would not recommend you to know Python first, because Python makes sense, but a lot of other programming languages don't make sense. So if you get into Python straight on and that's your first language, you're gonna like, and then once you're learning other languages, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is hard, this is a struggle. So I would not recommend Python first. And I love Python, and I'm just saying, you know. So I mean, if you don't want to learn anything in C, you can start with Java. I personally would not recommend Java first, because even me, I knew at least 5 programming languages before I learned Java, and I still struggled in Java. Like, I was just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, because Java was just way too much in my opinion. But if you don't want to learn anything in C, Java may make sense to you. But like I said before, it's very important to know Java. So maybe after you learn C++, you can move on to Java, because, you know, a lot of the concepts still tie the same. Like, for a lot of programming languages, the concepts are the same. Like, it's just a different language. Like, or it may be, sometimes it's the same way of getting to the, like, sometimes it may be the same concept to get to like an end result. It's just the way you go about saying it is different, or programming it is different. Like for loops are, knowing loops are standards, conditional statements are standard, you know, functions or, you know, classes, a lot of those things are standard in most programming languages. And you know, if you're working with the databases, you know, a lot of stuff are CRUD, you know, you're creating, reading, updating, or deleting. Like that's a lot of the core concepts in a data. That's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. If you have any suggestions for videos, please leave them in the comment section as well. Please don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, and comment and subscribe to my channel, and tell your friends. Send this video to somebody who you think may need it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.